ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति. We are in the chapter 6, which is talking about strength of emotion. We are in the end of the chapter. And basically, it started by talking about how emotions and uh, becoming emotional, overpowered by emotion, is negative. So that's where the intellect comes in. That's where the mind has emotions, nothing wrong with emotions. Mind cannot decide for ourselves because it has no direction, no dimension of itself. So it is important that it is supervised by the intellect and all actions are driven by the intellect. And then came the facets of emotion, where it is the expression, different types of emotions are being discussed. It is not the complete set of emotions, but it is more or less the overall perspective of emotion they're giving. Swamiji has given. So he spoke about love, where he's defined what is the purity of affection, of love. It is not just to have a preferential attachment or affection for oneself, one person or few people, but it is that general feeling of identification for one and all. That is spiritual. So then he spoke about kindness. It's a gesture of conducting how we conduct ourselves in the society, with empathy, with identification. How do we go about in life? Then came pity, which is explained as a weakness in the society, in our personality, because we believe that uh, uh, in that feeling of pity, there seems to be a superiority complex, or in the equation, which is not the right way of conducting ourselves, which is lack of understanding of the laws of life. Get what you deserve. Each one of us have asked for it, so we got it, good or bad. So to have pity on somebody is not the right way of approaching it. And out of those weakness, weak pity, which we mentioned, Samji mentioned here, we tend to act on that weakness, and we tend to believe that we can't make anybody unhappy. We can't, we have to be generous to people. We have to work whatever the other person says. We have to go along with that. In the process, what we do is we compromise with our principles, we compromise with our own nature, fundamental nature, so dharma. And so, end of the day, we are not really contributing, we are not helping, because it overall agitates the personality and it is not benefiting the society. Then comes charity, which we discussed in detail in the last session, and the session before that, where we discussed that charity is that having that thought for others. It is not only materially giving something to anybody. That is very uh, general idea which people carry, which is not really charity, because the action doesn't define anything. In Vedanta, we learn that there is much more than action. The personality, the individuality, which defines our action, which is the intention. In simple words, we say that the mind and the intellect, which is where the personality is defined by. So, if we are able to have an understanding, have a clarity of the emotion of the personality, and with genuine intention we serve, that attitude of service is called charity. At the physical level, it expresses as material giving. At the physical level, it can express as actually helping people, serving people. At the emotional level, it can manifest as understanding, identifying with other people and helping them, being charitable. At the intellectual level, it applies as well to have a charitable disposition is what we are talking about. So, end of the day, charity is an emotion, and it has to be guided by that attitude of having a charitable disposition in life in whatever we do. However, we conduct ourselves, we should be charitable in life. That was what we discussed. And then we came to effect of manifestation, which goes by the theorem we have learned till now, and that is that mind should not dictate or govern or drive our action. That's a fundamental theorem we have gone with. We have understood it. It is the intellect which should guide our action. It is our intellect which should govern our action. For the simple reason, mind has no direction, no dimension. It doesn't know what to ask for. So we don't know which direction we are going. It can it will not beneficial for us. And even in the emotions, how to manifest emotions, if we mechanically merely manifest emotion, even a positive emotion, can become a weakness in the personality if it is not governed by the intellect. That's what we discussed. So, to understand that, we need to understand the effects of manifestation, which is where we discussed about the parable, where the snake parable, if you remember, where it talks about that it's the indiscriminate manifestation of the emotion, which was detrimental for the snake. The sage mentioned that yes, you should have identification for others, but if you don't have a control on your, if it becomes a weakness, you will suffer. And that's what happened. The snake was being completely hit, and he didn't know how to help himself. Right? That's where the sage came and said that you misunderstood my message. I never said that you should not protect yourself, you should not help yourself. I only said that don't harm other people. That's all the message was. But it was not understood by the snake. And that's why it suffered. And that was a parable being given to explain the concept that effect of manifestation is to be understood. If it is not manifested intellectually, sensibly, discreetly, it can be detrimental, even a good emotion. So, point one, emotions need to be purified. Point two, the manifestation of emotion has to be discreet. These are the two fundamental points which is to be understood till now. Now comes the deeper aspect, which is a very important aspect, which is a root of emotion. Where are the emotions coming from, stemming from? This helps in understanding the core. Unless and until we go to the deep root, we will not be able to really control the manifestation. So it is important to control from the source. Merely control the expression may not really help in the manifestation. So it is important that we have a structured manifestation. We have an understanding where is it coming from. And that's the topic, the root of emotion. And emotion springs from a flow of thought. Your thoughts flow towards the world constantly. The thought flow arises from the sense of unfulfillment, incompleteness, imperfection felt within you. This notion of lacuna, void, is caused by the ignorance of self. I think we covered generally till first part of it, where we discussed about this aspect. He's talking from the top, from the ultimate, where he says that ignorance of the self, ignorance of your totality, ignorance of the perfection, which is called as paripurna in Sanskrit, the completeness, the perfection, the fulfillment, ignorance of that creates an imaginary void. So what these masters are saying is, there is no void, there is no problem. The problem is internal. Fundamentally, It starts from the emotion spring from the emotion, nothing but thought flow. And the thought flows to the world. We'll come to the definition that's called desire later on, he mentions it. So thought flow to the world is called desire. So this thought flow arises. Why does even the thought flow to the world? Fundamentally, if you think about it, it's because the thought is not contained, retained within itself. It's called lack of self-sufficiency. The example given, which Swamiji gives it here as well, is when you feel hungry, the thought goes to the world to fill that void within. Right? You feel hunger within you. So the thought goes to food outside and to fill that void with it. Right? Now, where does that thought go when you are full? You're already full. You don't feel hungry. So there's no thought to the food. Right? So it is created fundamentally because of a void, an emptiness felt within. Right? Similarly, since there is an emptiness felt within the personality, to fulfill that emptiness, the void, the imperfection, the thought goes to the world to fulfill that. We'll go to the rest of it, but before that, what is important to understand is which is imaginary. What they're saying is that sense of incompleteness, sense of unfulfillment is an imaginary void. All these masters are trying to say, you are the self, you are that complete, you are that totality. You are the reality, you are God. God, Allah, Vaheguru, Bhagwan, whatever you want to call it as, you are that reality. The non-understanding of the reality creates an imaginary void. And once the void is created, the thought goes to the world to fulfill the void. In fact, in the next chapter, which is talking on the intellect, the wisdom, he goes in deeper explanation of that context of the concept of imaginary void, where he also uses the snake and rope example. This is in the scriptures and which is being taken to explain the idea. We'll come to that when we cover that. So here we just need to know we are in the chapter of emotions. So here we are saying the thought flow is called emotions. It's called desire. Actually, the definition of desire, if you have to write down, thought flow to the world is called desires. A want, a feeling of void, a feeling of incompleteness. In other words, if I get that, I feel a sense of satisfaction. Okay? That is desire. You feel that if I get that, if I achieve that, there's a sense of completeness, fulfillment, right? And that thought can be in various ways to various object or being externally, with the concept idea that it will satisfy my void within me, right? That's the thought. This notion of lacuna, a void, is caused by the ignorance of the self. Your real self is supreme absolute. The rare one realizes the self, attains the state of absolute fulfillment. So this he is referring to the self-realized masters. It can be Christ or Krishna or Mahavir or Buddha. All these great men, masters, they are self-realized. They have understood that there is no void within our personality. They have reached the ultimate perfection, ultimate completion, and thereafter they don't have the sense of void. So they don't have desires, technical terms. So the rare ones realize the self. That's why it's called self-realization. Interesting word, coinage. You don't have to know anything externally. You realize your true nature. You are the self. You are even now, you are the self. The knowledge helps in realizing that your true identity. Right now, you believe your true identity to be this individual, which is nothing but the body, mind, and the intellect. This physical personality, This emotional personality, this intellectual personality defines you. What they're saying is your personality is beyond this individuality. You exist even without this body, mind, and intellect. You exist in the waking state. You exist in the dream state. You exist when you go through a deep sleep state of consciousness. There are chapters coming up. I'm just giving a brief a trailer for what's coming up. We are getting into a serious business. Till now, it's more like body, mind, intellect, understand your personality, all that is going on. In fact, the next chapter onwards, it goes deeper and where it handles the subject in a more subtler way. So we need to be prepared for ourselves for that understanding. So what you're saying is root of emotion. In fact, this topic is very, very useful for one thing is starting from the top, the ultimate. Even to understand the basics, we talk about anger management, we talk about stress management, we talk about greed, we talk about all the problems. Most of the problem can be handled by understanding this root of emotions. So it is a very interesting topic to understand. So, what is the source of all that? The example given is imagine there is a foul smell in the room. What do? You try to reach out to some people and say, you know what, there is a people who made workers that there is foul smell. Please do something about it. They come, they spray some room fresheners, and they go. You call somebody else, senior person, people, and then you try to explain, you know what, there is a deep sense of foul smell. Can something be done? They come and they open the windows and doors and they go. You realize that it's not solving the problem. It's still there. Smell is still there. It's very strong. So you try and locate the source of the problem. So you take it to yourself and you try and locate, okay, where is it really coming from? Where is it concentrated? And suddenly you find that near the curtain, behind the curtain, there's very strong smell. So you go to the curtain, you remove the behind the curtain, and you see a decomposed rat. That was the source of the problem, cause of the problem. Once you take that out of the system, thereafter, whatever has to be done, what they did was not wrong. It's not that putting a room freshener is not the right way of removing the smell. Yes, it is the right way. It is not that opening the doors and windows is not the right way. It is the right way. But those are temporary solutions. That is not going to be the long-term solution because the source is still there. Cause is still there. It has not been addressed. And that is what we see in the society, in the world today. Unfortunately, the lack of knowledge and understanding of these higher values, that people just don't know what to do. In the society, we are talking about governments, we're talking about the top people in the field. They are trying to solve it. Some may be not genuine, some may be really genuine in trying to solve the problem. I remember seeing a notice or a post, Instagram post on the government website, Indian government website, talking about stress, how to remove stress. And they said you have to go for an outing, trekking, you have to sleep 8 hours a day, and you have to eat well. And all these were given really, and as a solution to stress. And the question is, how can I solve? I am stressed out, I'm depressed, I'm agitated, I'm disturbed. I go for a trekking, I solve it. Are we saying that people are doing it desperately because people want solution? To be fair, it's not nobody's fault. It's a fault of lack of education, lack of understanding in society. Anger is being considered as a way of life. Losing oneself is not considered as anything wrong. It is okay. It's fine. I lost myself. I gave my mind to the other person as if such a big deal. Here we understand in Vedanta, losing yourself is a weakness. It's not strength. A strong person, a wise person will never lose himself. That's not how it works. So it's lack of understanding. Or, youngster talking about, I can take 3 pegs. I can take another boy saying, I can take the entire bottle of whiskey. I can just take it. I don't need to mix with anything. And it's presented as if it's a big achievement. Whereas in Vedanta, we learn it's a weakness for sense object. I don't have a control of it. Nothing wrong with sense object. The world is there to be enjoyed. But if I don't know how much, where to cut, where to stop, it is a weakness in my personality. In other words, the sense object is controlling me. I am not in control of the senses. It can be we have eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. These are the 5 senses. So it can be the color and form for the eyes, smell for the nose, taste for the tongue. For the food, people go to different part of the world, or even for different cuisines to explore, to find out. Nothing wrong with it. Nobody's saying don't enjoy food. Just for that half an inch of the palate, how big a deal we make it? Is it even worth it? Yes, something has to be done. It is important. We can't live without food. Necessary. Do the needful, move on. Versus that become the priority in life. Everything is around food. So it can be any aspect of life, can become a weakness when we are not in control of it. So here Swamiji is talking from the top, root of emotions is the fundamental source is a lack of understanding of the self. Ignorance of your true identity is the fundamental cause. Right? What is a secondary cause? Okay, I understand that the root core is because I don't realize I have not understood the self, whatever the self be. Only few in a generation, one in a generation becomes self-realized. So what do we do? Where do we go? How do we go about it? So it is important to understand, no. Leave aside the knowledge of the self. That is the ultimate. That is self-realization is the ultimate. The direction is also important. So what is the direction? But humanity everywhere is ignorant of the self. Hence, every human feels a void within. Void causes thought to run into the world for fulfillment, just as they run towards food when the stomach is empty. Thus, your thoughts constantly reach out in the world for fulfilling a sense of unfulfillment, completing an uncompleteness, perfecting an imperfection felt within. Okay. The stream of thought flowing from object of the world is known as desire. This is a very important line. This is what we discussed just now. Define it. Thought flow to the world is called as desire. This is where it's coming from. So when the thoughts flowing from you to the object of the world is called as desires. Okay. Desires, therefore, is caused by ignorance of your supreme self. Right? The enlightened who has gained the knowledge of the self alone is free of desires. Right? Until you reach the state of self-realization, you would entertain desires, and desires go through several modifications. Okay. Now, this is what we are talking about. What are the modifications of desires? Desire is also called kama in Sanskrit. These are egocentric desires. Remember, fundamentally, there is nothing wrong with desires. Desire is a cause for our existence, for our birth. So, When we are running after desire, our actions are directly driven by desires, that is fundamentally wrong. If you remember, we discussed about the chronology of action. It is the vasanas which creates the thought. It is the thought which creates a desire. Desire creates an action. This is the natural sequence. Vasana, thought, desire, action. Now, if we keep with the natural progression, we get into a loop. Desire creates action, action creates further vasanas, and vasana creates thought, desire, action. Again, we get into a creating further inherent nature. Vasana creates the thought, desire, action, keeps on going. How to break the loop is where we need to apply the knowledge, understanding. Step back. Just because I feel like acting, thought flow going to the world is desire. Just because I feel like doing something, I don't have to do it. Is it my obligation? Is it required? Is it a good thing to do? Is it beneficial for doing it? All this is the knowledge part, which we have covered in the last earlier session about the how to counter at the each level, vasana, thought, desire, action. Today we are talking about the modifications of desires. If we do not perform the intelligent redirection of desires, then what happens is a discussion for the day, where he says the root of all your emotion is desire. If we go back to the idea, the topic is root of emotion, right? So the source of all emotion is desires. So now we're talking about if desires are fulfilled, you get fear. You get something, wanted something, you got it. Now you have fear of losing it. Right? When the desires are intercepted, interfered, then there is anger. Krodha. Krodha means anger. So A loves B. C comes in between. A is angry on C. The deviated thought flow, distracted thought flow is called as anger. It can be, see, anger can be for even good desire as well. I have a desire for cleanliness. So when anybody interferes with that desire of cleanliness, when people keep things dirty, people are not clean, not hygienic, I get angry on people who are not fulfilling my desire of cleanliness. It's a good desire. But my expectation from others to be clean is not fair. I should be having a good desire, good thought, but I expect other people also to follow that. It's not fair. Right? That's where desire gets intercepted and that creates anger. Furthermore, when the desire is fed, that creates greed. Very big problem with the mind. Anybody can fall prey for the mind. Mind is very, very powerful. We need to understand what we're dealing with. It's a serious business. It's going in our personality, and we really don't know how powerful this mind is. All the problems, if we see in terms of financial crashes, is because of this problem of greed. And unfortunately, nobody is talking about it. It's not being addressed. So, how do we know that? How do we go about it? Understand. So, this is how it is the egocentric desire is being manifesting, which means selfish and self-centered desires. What is greed? I want something. As long as I get it, I'm happy. If I don't get it, I'm not happy. So it is the selfishness which is highlighted in the desire. Right? So greed is very much to do with one's mind, control or lack of control of the mind. So that is gambling. And it is promoted in different ways in the society. People have become smarter. It's, what is the advertisement? If you think about it, we already discussed about the chronology of action. They are using or misusing that concept for them, for their purpose. It is the reputation of thought is marketing. They keep on creating. How do you create desires? What is desire? Thoughtful to the world, right? I create a product, right? Till yesterday, that product was not even known, not even seen as a necessity. Leave aside a requirement. It was not there in my thought. Suddenly, I create a product. Now, it's a unique product. How do I create a need for the product? How do I create a desire in the system, in the world, in society? By creating a thought flow. So what I do is, I create a thought flow because the mind is weak. So I create a concept of repetition of thoughts. A celebrity is using it. Okay, do I need it? I don't know if you've seen, they've started putting magnet in the nose. You see? For it was not known. It was not there. Now, how do you create a need or necessity or a desire in the society? Marketing. Thought flow to the world is desire. How do you create a desire? You present it as something very unique. You need sleep, you get the magnet. You need, it gives you more relaxation. It helps you with the medical way. Different ways, different logic, different way. But there's repetition. You keep on going to your Instagram post, you keep getting the ads. You keep seeing people putting something on the nose. You keep seeing your celebrities. You keep seeing suddenly you saw your friend wearing it. Where did you get that? Repetition of thought. Suddenly, you don't know that it's in your room, in your house. You just bought it. Why did you buy it? It created a desire and you fell for it. No control. So greed is the nature of the mind to get into that feeling. It's called hope. I will get it. The games are based on this concept. When you play an online game, first time you play, you win the game. Right? Second time, it is a little difficult. Second phase is a little difficult. They make it difficult. Third, fourth, by the time you go deeper, it is very difficult. It is more challenging, right? So what is happening? It created a hope that you will win. And that is being fed. That's why the mind keeps going to it again and again. That's why games become so popular. Suddenly it becomes popular. It's the mind. So they all are playing around the mind. Marketing is completely, purely based on the mind. Nothing else. So they cater to the thought flow, and that creates a sense of hope that again it will be fulfilled, and you keep on going to it again and again, and that's greed. You got the share in the market, right? And you suddenly see it falling. 1% fell. It's okay. 2% rise. It creates a hope that next time it will be rising. It again falls. 50% fall. No, it will come. 45% now, minus 45%. Okay, it's better than 50. It will come to 20. Zero. Zero means where you bought from. with respect to your purchase, 0. Then goes to plus 10. No, no, no. I should leave it. Maybe it will go to plus 20, plus 30. It's greed of the mind which is being fed. Is there anything wrong with the market, share market? No. If you can be in control of it, if it is not disturbing you, if you don't have to go to it every day morning to see where the market is, you have a thing you can, it's okay. It's just there. You can be helpful for somebody. It's there with you. The money can be beneficial. It's in a way helping the infrastructure or the country in some way or the other. You can put whatever. The point is, why do you do it? If it is the mind's greed, it's deadly. Same aspect in the case of loans. Same concept. One person takes a loan. Swamiji takes. In fact, you will cover in the poems book. There's a book. There's a poem called as the Polonius Advice in Hamlet, where uh, Polonius is the minister in the Shakespeare's play Hamlet. He gives an advice to his son who is departing for his higher study. In the eve of the departure, his father gives a message or learning, a value to the son. That is the Polonius advice to the son is Leotus. Leotus is going for a higher study. So the father, Polonius, is giving advice. Beautiful piece of advice where he says, never be a borrower or lender. Never take loans, never borrow. Both are wrong. Society, it is promoted. Credit card is promoted. Loans are promoted. Now, what's wrong in that? If you think about it, okay, is it wrong to take loans? Fundamentally, no. In other words, a lot of people say, so if you have to make a business, in the business, it's required, it's necessary to take some extra because you may not be having that resources and you're borrowing the resource to expand yourself and it's required. Incidentally, nobody talks about giving back. So in the process, taking is not the problem. I take 100 crores. Is that a problem? No. But if I take it with the idea of giving back, okay, I have a plan of 10 years, 20 years, I will be giving back. I bring it to 0 and I move. Fair enough. Nothing wrong. The mind doesn't work like that. The problem is mind's desires are like fire. We discussed earlier. That's the greed. Mind is referred in the scripture as fire. No set of fire in any part of the world has a sense of satisfaction. You put logs and logs of wood, it consumes it, and it asks for more. That is the nature of fire. That's the nature of desires. That's the nature of the mind. So, since we let the mind be without any control, what happens is it builds up and we start justifying. So I take loan, I work on it, I have a plan of action, I have accounted for everything, and I give back in whatever due time. That's fine. But it's never the case. I take more loans. I take more loans. When do I give back? I never have thought about giving back. So with the justification, that is the way to do it. But what happens is, in the process, what we are doing is, we are creating more stress, more pressure for ourselves. So in business, Swamiji often mentions that what is required, how do you apply this philosophy in business is consolidate and move. Don't be over ambitious. Be very clear with your goals, with your achievements, what you want to achieve. Have the right attitude, right intention. You will get support. You will get help. You will progress. If your thought is to benefit the society, to do something good for society, you will get it. It's not a problem. But don't have that attitude of grabbing, taking selfishness, self-centeredness, egocentric nature, that is not going to give you any sense of peace or satisfaction or contentment in life ever. It's not the way to go about it. So, greed is when we keep on going into that phase of feeding the mind, and whatever comes, when you keep on feeding the mind, you get into a loop of greed, no control. When you have you have more something, you have an attitude of arrogance towards people who have less. You have an attitude of jealousy towards people who have more. You feel a sense of um, jealousy, a sense of why does that person have it? Why don't I have it? And you look down at people who have less. You're arrogant. And furthermore, desires modifies into delusion, loss of direction, understanding, a complete loss of personality, complete loss of individuality. So, this is the modification of desire. Desire, we started with saying, if you go back, the root of emotion is you are the self, you are the reality, you are that complete, you are, it's called paripurna. Paripurna means uh, complete, self sufficient. When you do not know your true nature, your true identity, the thought grows to the world, which is called as desires, which we covered here. The stream of thought flowing from you to the object of the world is called desire. Right? So, thought flow to the world is called desires. Now, the problem is, okay, I have desires. That is not the major problem. The major problem is I keep aggravating the desires. I keep increasing the desires. So that because my mind is not in control, the nature of the mind is to fall for the world. And because of that, the desires of my mind creates different types of problems, which is called as kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. These are the derivations. These are the modifications of desires given in the scriptures. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. That is how the desires are being modified, expressed, and this is because these are egocentric desires. Right? The desires which has no direction, which has been given no purpose, but it is being selfish and self-centered and running after the world only to fulfill its, satisfy itself, an imaginary void within. This is the modification, right? So that's what he is referring to. To desire is a thought flow. When one continues to feed it to flow, it thickens, thicker thought flow develops into greed, average known as lobha. If, however, your flow is intercepted by an object or being, the thought is get deflected. Deflected thought flow is called krodha. Consider, for example, Tom loves Elizabeth. Thought runs to the Elizabeth. Under the suitor, John also loves her. John quoting intercepts Tom's thought flow. Tom develops anger towards John. Anger, therefore, is a modification of desire. There can be no anger unless there is an underlying desire. How, hence, to overcome anger, you need to locate the desire and eliminate it. Right? That's the important point. So, if you have to solve the problem, you have to go to the source. Remember the example we discussed about the decomposed rat. So, if you have to solve anger, there is no point complaining about the world. Because of somebody else, I am angry. I lose myself. No. You lose yourself because you don't have control of yourself, your desires. So it is a weakness in the personality. I have fear. A lot of people, they came. I remember after COVID, especially after COVID, even for this war situation that's going on, fear, fear of death. It comes because of selfishness in the personality. When one is unselfish, when one is genuinely charitable and caring for others, service oriented, you will not be bothered about life, personal life, individual. It is people who are selfish and self centered, they are fearful, more fearful. Fear comes out of ignorance. So, or it can be greed. How do you solve greed? Is by go back to a desire. Why do I want this? This gambling platforms have become so common. Thankfully, government taken the initiative and banned in the country. It was becoming like a common thing. Any cricket match comes, there's gambling going on. Promoting it. I mean, of course, it's in the background. People's mind are weak; they go into it. But children getting into it, it's very sad. Uh, I remember in Ananda, one butler is talking about some app, Dream 11 app, and he's talking about how he's making a team every day. IPL team, a cricket match happens in India. So they make a team, and how he's putting some 200 rupees, 500 rupees. Labor class mindset. You put 500, you get 700 or 520, you are so excited. That is greed. If somebody is operating at the $1 million, same mindset is same. What is the mindset? Lack of understanding of values. What is the law? You get what you deserve, not what you desire. Remember, if you want to get more than what you desire, what you deserve, it is stealing, it's thief. Yes, you're being thief. You're stealing from society, from the world. It will never stay with you. If you take more than what you give, you don't deserve it. You give something, you're sacrificial in the world, you are generous, you're thoughtful for others, and you get something in return, which you deserved it. You manipulate and you try to get more out of it, making other people, you find out they're stupid, they don't know much, and scams. What are the scams? What is a scam? You try to manipulate, you're smart, and you manipulate other people who are not that smart, and you try to get more out of it. What is the stupidity? Who is the stupid person there? You are the stupid one. I'm the stupid one if I am doing the scam, because that will never stay with me. All that I'm doing to get what does not belong to me. That attitude, that's coming from greed. That's the nature of the mind, to have that greed. So I keep on taking more and more from the world without giving back. That's what in Quran is. It says is you're a thief if you take. Even in Bhagavad Gita it says, if you take more than you give, you're a thief. So the right way of conducting ourselves is to have that attitude of giving, sharing, caring, whatever we can. There is no other way to live life. Life has to be based on sacrifice, has to be based on giving, sharing, which is opposite of greed. So when you have this, you get into arrogance, and that's what he's saying. So you remember the anger. So the point we were taking here, if I have to counter anger, I have to come back to the desire. What is that obstructing factor? What was the desire which is being obstructed? A lot of people say, I have an anger problem. No point complaining about the world. So what do I do? Sit down when you are available, when your mind is calm and intellect is available. Try to analyze what was the factor, desire, being obstructed. I expected my team member to perform in a particular way. It's a desire. Then comes the analysis. Is it the right expectation from the other person? No. What can be done? Think differently. You need to get the work done. There's a better way of doing it. It can't be losing yourself and abusing the person and all those stuff things. Doesn't work like that. So anger is a weakness. Go back to the source, analyze, handle it. So to control and reduce your desires, you must examine your thought flow. When a thought aligns to an object of being, let your intellect observe it at the very beginning, scrutinize it, accept or reject it with discretion. If you follow this procedure, there can be no indiscriminate thought flow. So no desire formation. Your intellect, therefore, will be well developed and alert to avoid such indiscriminate flow of thought. If, however, the intellect is weak, you would develop desire, greed. And since the world cannot always cater to your desires, you become angry at the obstacles you face. As desire, greed, and anger well up, you would get into a delusion, moha. Your emotions mounting up to this stage develop into arrogance, mother, at those who has less, and envy at people who have more. And when you maintain the level of success in your achievement in the world, you enter in fear, bhaya. You're afraid of losing what you have gained. Thus, a host of emotion invades your personality. They lead to grief, misery, perhaps ultimate destruction, if left unattended, while desires remain the cause of confusion, chaos. Now he is saying how to handle the desires. Desires, beside developing into modifications, also multiply into numbers in like bacteria. They plague the mind with agitation, sorrow. All through life, the human mind moves from one desire to another, trying to find fulfillment. No sooner the desire is satisfied, many others spring forth. Thus, you become bound, burdened with innumerable desires. You have therefore to use intellect, constant check, control them. So what he's saying is, desire fundamentally, when it is indiscriminate thought flow, creates this loop of anger, fear, arrogance, greed, jealousy, delusion. Delusion is a sense of feeling that I create the world, I made everything, everything is because of me, I dictate terms, everybody is there to serve me. That mindset a person gets into, that's delusion. Completely lost in the personality in the world. There's no sense of understanding, you don't know what you're saying, what you're doing. It's overwhelmed with selfish, self-centered desires. So he says, okay, if this is the problem, and another problem with desire is it creates furthermore desires. And remember the definition of stress we discussed earlier, unfulfilled desire creates stress. So we create more desires and we create a more possibility of agitation. And there will be desires which are not fulfilled. You go with one desire, you create 10 more desires. Now you have 11 desires. Your one desire is fulfilled. You have 10 desires which are unfulfilled. Out of those 10 desires, you try to fulfill those desires, running after desires. Out of trying to fulfilling, putting your effort and all that, you get 8 desires are fulfilled, 2 are still unfulfilled. Those unfulfilled desires create agitation. That's called stress. That is a definition of stress. So you're making it more and more difficult for yourself in life by running after desire, by going along desires. So then what do? This is where this graph comes in. Now, what is this graph? This is when I think only for myself, me and myself. There's nothing else, nobody else who I care for. Right? That is selfish. Remember the definition we have generally discussed earlier? The definition is, moment I turn selfish, I will be unhappy. Selfishness and happiness doesn't go together. That's the formula. Selfishness is inversely proportional to happiness. When I am selfish, I will be unhappy. When I'm unselfish, automatically I'll be cheerful, I'll be lighthearted, I'll be happy. That's a law. Right? So we are talking about now relative selfishness. The core is me, myself, oneself, right? That's where it starts from. Core selfish. Core agitation, disturbance. How do I grow in life? What is progress in life? What is spiritual path? Move from oneself to family. How can I help? What can I do for others? Other in the context now it is instead of one person, it is four more people. So if I am at the level of core selfish, working for the family is unselfish for me. This is higher for me. This is my spiritual path. Right? Let's say I'm at the level of family. I have to work for community. This is higher for me. Let's say I'm at the level of community. I am being service oriented. I am helping the community in a big way. What is growth for me? Move to country. How can I benefit? How can I help the country? What can I do? If I'm at the level of the country, I'm already doing serving the society, the country. For me, higher will be humanity. Why only restrict it to country? It will be how can I do something which can add value to humanity? That's higher. If I am already at the level of humanity, higher will be living beings, all beings. Beyond that is everything, encompassing everything. So, this is the practical way of growing spiritually. Whatever level I am, I need to move from that to the higher. And what is higher? Higher is defined by number of people being benefited. I'm able to serve, contribute, make a difference to. So if I'm serving only myself, it is core selfish, self-centered. If I'm able to help my family, with respect to that, I'm okay. But anything apart from my family, I don't care. I don't have any consideration. I don't have any identification, any understanding. I don't care. To that extent, I'm selfish. So for me, then at the level of family, I should start moving on to the level of community. What can I do for the community? There are groups in different country, different places. It can be all Christian group, all Hindu group, community we are talking about. All Agarwals, the business people, they have Agarwal group, all or Gujus or Gujarati groups, community, working for community, helping. Each one is trying to pull resources wherever anybody needs help. You're identifying. Okay, I'm working for all the good Jews. What about the other people? I don't care. So the identification ends there. To that extent, I do whatever, I'll go to any extent, but I stop beyond that. That is selfish. With respect to the community, I am unselfish, but beyond that, I am become selfish. So what is growth, spiritual growth? I push myself to start identifying with the country. Doesn't matter whichever part of the country you are in, but as long as you're Indian or you're an American, you're a Britisher, I have identification for you with respect to country. Japan is known for being, this for the country. People will go to any extent to make sure when you go as a guest, you come back with that respect and regard for the country. because people go to different extremes to make sure that you're comfortable as a guest when you visit Japan, or even China for that matter. So, country, working a country. But that is all. What is growth? Go humanity or every living being. So that's what he's talking about. You will therefore, it's that is intellectually guided, right? So he says, um, if your motive is merely catered to welfare of yourself, your immediate family, you breed more desires. But when you entertain an ideal in life, you desire directed to the higher, and then the desire for the lower vein. Thus, raise the ideal as illustrated from oneself gradually to family to community to the world at large. So, have a goal, a purpose, an ideal in life, which is catering to the higher set of people. That is higher. I have a goal, a purpose, an ideal, which is able to push me from one level to another. That's how I move. As the quality of desire becomes subtler, the quantity of desires diminishes. The ultimate mission of life is to realize the self when all desires dissolve into the supreme self. We'll take up the next in the next class. Thank you.